experience the full power of the dark side. Good!
We will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
What the? Ah! Misa back!
Prepare to fire!
Oh no! Hello and welcome back to Star Wars Beyond the Stars for episode number 28, recorded on Wednesday, April 8th, 2015. I'm your host Fred, aka Sith Lord Cole. Joining me tonight is my number 2, Agent Louis Olan.
Hello, Fred. Hello, everyone on YouTube, well, Twitch, and Hitbox. What is going on? And as always, greetings from Imperial Intelligence.
Oh no, don't you greet anybody on Twitch this week. Jerks.
Yes, as if you haven't heard, Twitch is having issues tonight for us, so we had to go over to Hitbox.
Yeah, I think you've shouted out Hitbox in the past, but this is the first time we're actually using it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because, at least as far as I found, SWTOR isn't even recognized on Hitbox. I might need to do a little bit more research into that later.
Yes, we may have to change that since, we are Star Wars chess at the moment. That's cool. At least we're associated with Star Wars. That works for me.
I didn't even know there was a Star Wars chess game.
Oh, yeah, there is. Yes, there is.
And also joining us tonight is Captain Kimbray, back from the Abyss. Hey, Paige.
Hi, guys. Am I number 3 or is Lou just number 2 because you think he's dookie?
You are number 5, right after ID10T.
Goopa noopa.
Wow!
To remind everybody, we offer free shout-outs where we'll announce anything you'd like us to. Just shoot us an email to StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com. And also, you can find out more about our show at StarWarsBeyond.com. We're available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and SWTORNetwork.com. Like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/StarWarsBeyondPodcast. You can tweet us at StarWarsBeyond. And our usual record time is Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when Twitch cooperates at twitch.tv/NoSHTGaming. And Paige, what is coming up in the Captain's Log tonight?
Coming up in the Captain's Log, we have our last weekend game, PvE versus PvP, the intense battle of a torn community. We have Agent Olan's intelligence report where Lou will present Force Powers Part 7, plus the weekly winner of the Agent Star Wars Trivia Question of the Week and your feedback on our community holo feed.
And we have nothing quick to mention this week, so we're going to go ahead and move right into the Captain's Log. Paige, what have you been up to for the last couple weeks?
Well, as our Twitter fans know, I had the plague for a little while. I think we got it from Treek when we visited Terrace.
Me too.
I recovered from that, so I'm back. I did do a little bit of PvP on my operative, but not much. I started a smuggler to play with a trooper with Fred, and I believe you made it a Vanguard, right?
Yes.
Okay. This smuggler is going to be a mirror of my medicine operative, the one that I really PvP with all the time. So I know that I'm going to enjoy playing her, and plus I do already have a max level smuggler, so I do know that I enjoy the story. Captain Kimbray, the one in the game, not this one, is kind of a middle-of-the-road, light and dark character. And I tried to make her feel like she was always in it for the money, but not if, like, someone innocent was going to get hurt, like children or whatever. If someone double-crossed me, I'd totally, like, kill them for the money or let them die for the money. I didn't care. But with this new smuggler, I decided to go completely light side, so we'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure if there's going to be anything different that's going to happen there. I have been wondering which companion I'm going to end up using on her. Currently on currently I only have Corso because I'm such a low level, but he's not going to be appropriate for a group makeup. I really do love a Kavi on Kimbre, but I don't want it to feel like I'm doing the same thing on both my characters. I want them to feel different. So I haven't made up my mind yet. I have been considering using Risha. That way I can kind of pass my gear on to her. And I don't know if Fred mentioned this previously, maybe one of the times that I wasn't here, but we had an interesting bug happen when we were grouped together on my smuggler and his vanguard. The both of us used fast travel to get back to the same spot, but I couldn't see him, even though we were both standing at the same quest giver. We couldn't target each other or be a part of the same conversation, and we were in the same phase. His portrait, the one that's part of the UI, was really dim for me, like he was too far away to perform an action, and that was the first and last time that's happened to me. Have any of you guys experienced that? Besides you, Fred, because I know you did.
It was actually in my notes for this week.
No, I haven't heard of that at all.
It was so weird. Like, we were standing right beside each other. I could look at his screen and see me, but when you look at my screen, he's just not there.
The quest giver did not want to talk to me at all.
Yeah, like he would click on the quest giver where we were turning in and nothing would happen. I would click on it to speak to her and it would say that he's not eligible for the conversation, even though he had completed everything with me. I mean, we were both together the whole way through, and after we fast traveled, it just went weird on us.
You know, I wonder if it's tied, because you know how they addressed the issue on Yavin 4 with people questioning there, to where there's so many people on there, it caused that entire planet to lag so horribly, so that they actually had to break out Yavin into multiple instances as more and more people went there. I'm wondering if that's now spilling over onto other areas, to where you know, it's like, yeah, you can see each other. You could see everyone talk in the zone, but you're not really in the same instance. Like, for example, you may have been placed in like instance two, and Brett was in 4. That way, wait, who are you trying to talk to?
Yeah, but that shouldn't happen when we're already grouped running around together, and then we fast traveled, and then it happened when we tried to turn in the quest. And if people want to see this firsthand, just check out our episode 26 on YouTube and go to the very end when Lou's reading his trivia question. That's when you could see me trying to interact with that NPC, and it keeps saying I'm not eligible for that conversation, even though she clearly has the turn-in above her head.
Yeah, that is so weird.
Yeah, it's like even if he were in a different phase, though, he should have still been able to turn the quest in.
Right, exactly. And you should have both seen the message. Well, hey, this person's trying to initiate a conversation. Now, do you want to ignore it, or do you want to go for the holo call?
Oh no, it would let Paige do that, but it wouldn't give me the option to join.
Yeah, it would say that on my end. It would say that he was ineligible for the conversation, even though he had the same turn-in that I did. In the video, you can see that he's able to turn it in, but she wouldn't speak to him at all.
Wow.
And that NPC's crazy anyway. That's that one on Ord Mantell that's like, oh, let me guess, he joined up with the Separatists. That's okay. He'll come back in a few months and he'll have some great footage.
Yeah.
That was
She used to have that crazy face. Do you remember? They
yes.
fixed it.
She used to smile like a mad woman. She was like, "Rah!"
Like, it was the most toothy smile ever, and it was just frightening.
Hey, her teeth used to clip through her lips.
It's funny that they fixed her face, and yet Lana Beniko still has issues.
Oh, that's just called being ugly.
Yeah, that's not clipping. Lana Beniko looks like the Gerber baby all grown up.
Oh my.
Wow.
A little bit.
Yeah, I think Yeah, okay, so at least with that NPC on Ormantel, okay, we can tell that's probably pure graphical technical issues, as opposed to with Lana Benigo, someone just wasn't thinking straight when they made her.
Well, to be fair, that NPC on Ord Mantell was back when they actually had an art team. And they did quality work on NPCs back then. Lana Benico is the result of some intern being told, develop this new character.
You know, I don't know if you guys are gonna know who this is, but it just came into my head. Do you know who Lana Benico looks like to me? Gary Busey.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody knows who that is.
Yeah.
A lot of people know who that is.
You ever seen the very first Lethal Weapon, Fred?
I'm sure I have at some point.
All right, he was one of the main bad guys. He was the blonde special forces.
No.
That Riggs fight, that Mel Gibson's character fights at the end. I mean,
This makes me sad.
but at least she's not nearly as crazy as that guy has become.
Have
Yeah.
you seen that? Okay, I know it's so off topic, but I can't avoid it. Have you seen the thing where he's like, "Hello, pants"? What is that, like a commercial?
I think so. Wow.
Just for that, Trink has to sit on your lap for the next 10 minutes.
Who?
You.
No.
Manamachu?
Yes.
No, I'm standing.
I'll just have a Charlie horse you.
Ew. Get her off my leg!
Now you know how Lou felt in episode 0.
Ugh.
That's exactly how I felt.
So are you done, Paige?
You can't read and see that I'm done?
Go ahead, Lou.
Well, I had quite a busy week, so I didn't have a lot of time this week. But what I did do, well, thanks to Easter holiday, thanks family, love seeing you. Go home, cut my playtime. No, I'm kidding. One time I did have, I actually was doing a once over on all my max level characters I have at the moment, and then for some reason I've always skimmed over my shadow. Like I on my shadow, I always just did a quick run through of all the dailies. Because she was always the last one I went to. Out of all of my 60s, she was always dead last on the roster. And then I think this past Thursday or Friday morning, I was just like, wow, I haven't done squat with her. And her companions either. I mean, her companions are... To say they're better than a gear would be an understatement. Because this is one of the characters I had power leveled through the very first time we had 12 times XP. And once, all the events started happening... I focused on the events, doing the events, like Bounty Contract Week, Raccoon Event, so on, Gree. I never really bothered.
None of these events give you any gear whatsoever.
Exactly. But at least, the way the gear, but the way the events are structured, the way my Shadows is outfitted at least, she can hold her own, she can do the events with no real issues. And then I realized on Friday, I was like, oh my god, I need to work on this character, because out of all of them, she is the worst geared. Across the board, meaning not only herself but all her companions are horribly geared. Even though, I'm almost there. I've got most of her Yavin gear, Yavin 4 gear, the basic comm gear. I have I have no augments on any of her gear. All right, her relics are from the 40s. Okay, her implants and her earpiece are from the 40s. And a lot of the mods and the enhancements in her weapon are level 40-ish. So it kind of explains why I had some issues with the Gree event, but I still managed to battle through that and finish it with that character. But again, taking scope, a broader look at this character, I realized I need to do some work. So she's actually going to be my focus in the next couple of weeks, just gearing her up, and her companions to hold their own. So what I have been doing is obviously, just doing the entire daily circuit. Not just one or two. No, it's just the entire gamut. I mean, going from, doing Section X, the original set of dailies on Belsavis, okay? Of course, going back to Ilum, Black Hole, and then, doing Oricon, CZ-198, and Yavin 4. And just constantly doing all of that just to build up her credit pool. Because at least we all know in Jedi Covenant, you play that, the economy on the GTN there is not one of my favorites. Let's put it that way.
Shadowlands is a lot more friendly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I understand probably that maybe the player base on Jedi Covenant has more, probably has more money, so virtual money, so to speak. I'm not sure, but it seems to me that a lot of the stuff on the GTN, at least for Jedi Covenant, is just ridiculously overpriced.
Well, I think you got a lot more people on JC that are playing the trade network all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what it feels like, because every time I look at the GTN on my characters on JC, I feel like I'm playing on Eve Online. Okay, and going to Jita or the various regional market hubs in that game and seeing just how how the price swings are different. It's just incredible. Because you're right, when logging my characters on Shadowlands or even on the Harbinger, it is just so much more economically friendly there. And at least there, I think on those two servers, you can actually find something reasonable and still, make a profit.
You have characters on Harbinger?
Yes, I have a couple on Harbinger. How?
That server's never up.
This is way back when, when the game first came out.
Oh, it's back when you could actually play there?
Yes. The first couple months of the game.
before the issues, the dark times.
Yeah. Before the Empire. Before the Net Empire. Yes, for more civilized age back then. So yeah, I have a couple characters there who are just sitting there like placeholders. I think I have a couple in the Bastion too. Like they're all like level 1s I just created and just forgot about as the years went on. I was like, wait, I have characters on that server? Holy crap, forgot about that. I literally do every MMO I go to. I literally create characters across multiple servers and then realize I focus on one or two servers and completely forget that I have wow, this game has 20 servers. I have characters in all 20, but I've only played on 2 for the past X amount of years. Well, and there's probably someone on those servers going, "Damn, who has that name?" That'd be me.
I always try to stick to the ones that are in my region, like the East Coast servers. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of making me sad because we haven't heard anything more about them increasing the amount of character slots you can have per server. Since Musco alluded to they were looking at that. And if I run out of character slots, there's only one more server that I could possibly go to that's East Coast, and that's the role-playing server, because I'm not going to a PvP server, I'll tell you that right now.
It might be fun.
No.
Fun for everyone else.
SWTOR PvP, I like it when I want to do it, but I don't want to be on a PvP server. I'm happy to be a Care Bear in SWTOR.
Well, the role-playing server is not that bad. Just don't talk to anyone. Just turn zone chat off and don't respond to anybody.
The role-playing server I'd go to. I have no problem with role-playing, but I'm saying that's the only option I have left, because Shadowlands and JC are the only 2 regular PvE East Coast servers, and then there's the role-playing server that's East Coast. And then after that, all you got is RP, PvP, and PvP that are the other 2 East Coast servers, and I won't go near those ones, so as far as I'm concerned, it's like those 2 aren't even there. So I got one more server I can go to when I fill up the 2 I'm on. And, sadly, as time goes on, I see that more and more as a possibility.
I think you may have to put that in the back of your mind and just keep it there for future reference, because at some point you actually are going to have to use it. Go ahead and go do it.
Yeah, and what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to start moving overflow characters from the other 2 servers over to that 3rd one, because I'm not going to want to level up a legacy a 3rd time.
Ugh.
Oh, no.
I'll just pay the 1,800 cartel coins and move somebody over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so damn glad to finally hit Legacy 50 on JC. Yes, thank you. That's finally done and over.
Yeah, and then with that free transfer, you just brought it over to Shadowlands.
Yes, exactly. So I'd have to go through that. I wouldn't say pain, but let's put it, it's a grind. The Legacy is a grind.
Well, what was really stupid to me was I had worked my Legacy up into the mid-40s all by itself over on Shadowlands before I ever brought a JC character over. And my JC Legacy was at level 49 at the time. And I moved that character over to Shadowlands, and it just completely overwrote my level 43 Legacy and didn't give me jack for it. You figure 43 Legacy levels should be enough to finish off Legacy level 49. Mm-hmm. If they would add them together, but they don't. They combine all the achievements and they just set your XP bar to whatever the other one was.
Yeah, that oh god, that would make me rage for a bit.
Well, the only thing that actually pissed me off about that was it doesn't bring your strongholds with you at all when you move servers.
What?
Yeah, your strongholds stay on the server that you set them up on.
You know what? They're gonna have to fix that.
And that includes any items you've unlocked for strongholds.
Yeah, see that to me that's an issue. That should be an issue. I mean, that should be a no-brainer as well. You transfer your legs, transfer everything. I'm transferring everything my character has. That includes, not only my titles, my achievements that I have on that server, but everything I've earned and placed in my stronghold, because that's part of my character as well. Like, I don't understand the logic behind that. I just don't. I'm saying it right now, there's no way for any of those devs over there to give me a reason that makes sense. Like, why did you deny this? Well, and whatever they say, it's like, no, that makes no sense. It's part of my character.
As Play is saying, combining that stuff would make too much sense.
Right. It's an integral part of your character while you're on that server, but since you're transferring your character over, you're not transferring half your character over, you're transferring everything over. So that includes, strongholds and everything else that goes with it. But again, I think it's an issue they need to address.
You know what the white Jedi Knights on the forums would say? They would tell you that when you transfer your character, you are transferring your character, but your stronghold is part of your legacy, and that needs to stay behind.
Blah, blah, blah. Did we just tangent?
Even though your entire legacy can be copied over.
Yeah, exactly. See, then I would just say the next. Well, my legacy could be transferred completely over, correct?
Oh, damn.
And so, by your own logic, my stronghold as well. So, next argument, next point you'd like to bring up, right? That I can shoot down in flames. Happily. Please let me know. That's just crazy. But going back to my shadow. Okay, this one I'm also looking forward to the alpha designer as well, because the M4 basic gear, like I said before in the past, Jedi Consular character. Again, I don't like the flying nun type looks. All right, and I will always reiterate again, like, who in the hell decided that consulars and inquisitors always have to be skirt, kilt, commas, whatever you want to call it, okay, and not have pants as an option, okay? I don't give a damn about you want a differentiation. I'm wielding a double-bladed lightsaber. If you don't see what I am after seeing that, what my gear looks like should make no other difference. I'm wearing a robe or pants.
I really appreciated, Lou, how there was a long pause while you're waiting to figure out which adjective you wanted to use there.
Exactly. Before, you'd have to put the actual censoring beep in there.
I have to do that. I do have to pause, and I'm like, what's the clean way to say this?
Because that just, again, the fashion logic for this game sometimes just makes no sense to me, and it incenses me. That should be the least of my worries.
I guess the same person designed that designed Lana Benico's face. They're like, it'd be a good idea.
Well, I don't know if you saw the update, but they said, I think like a week ago, maybe two, that the outfit designer now is not going to have any weight restrictions, so you can wear heavy armor and such on your light armor wearing classes.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I saw that, because initially, what did they say? Heavy armor wearers can wear any set of armor in the appearance tab. Medium armor, you were restricted to medium and light. And light, you were SOL. Like, wait a minute. This is the appearance tab. It should make no difference whatsoever as to what I'm wearing.
Yeah, the only other game I've seen that did anything like that was EverQuest 2 when their appearance tab first came out, where you could only wear the armor types you could actually equip. Mm-hmm. And they've since added cosmetic gear, so you could be a mage running around wearing plate armor.
Exactly. And you know what? The arguments against that, like, you know what? If you can't tell what I am or what I can do by telltale signs and effects that are going around me, then there are bigger issues you need to address. Not with the game, but with you as a player.
Yeah, well, that was the big argument that WoW was trying to go with for the longest time before they added in the transmogrification. They were like, we really value the character portrait, and we want people to tell what class you are just by looking at what you're wearing.
Last time I checked, that's still only what you can equip with Warcraft. Because, I mean, I transmogged the crap out of my mage, and I could never put on, like, leather or anything.
Well, yeah, that is the case with WoW, but for the longest time, that was their whole reason for never giving any appearance customization, was because
Whatsoever,
they wanted all of the mages wearing the same robe. They wanted all of the the warlocks wearing the same robe. Because,
Answers.
yeah, well, that was their philosophy. They wanted every class wearing the same armor so that when you're in PvP, you know exactly which class you're facing. And
Yeah,
it was
never
a
mind
weak
if I'm-
argument.
Yeah, from my mortal lock, you can't see my succubus, right? You can't tell what I am from like a mile away. Oh, look, he's got succubus. He must not be a warlock.
Hey, look, that's a frostbolt. Who could that be?
Yeah, wonder what that person is.
But let's be honest, though. Blizzard has special rules that apply to them. Like, they're like, okay, well, you're a hunter, so you get to name your pet. You're a warlock. Well, your pet comes with a name. And if you don't like it, you can buy this thing that will assign you another random name.
That was stupid.
Yeah, I never understood that.
Hey, I was perfectly fine with Zig Zapper.
Your imp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
had
the-
like 4 Z's in his name.
It really did. We keep going on tangents when Lou was
Well, no,
talking.
actually, that makes sense because it ties into what I'm saying. Is because I don't know if you've seen the consular gear on Yavin 4, the basic com gear. At least it's just like, ugh. It's like paper bag brown.
paper
Paper
bag.
bag
brown.
It's paper bag brown.
What
Can
is
that
this,
be a
Sherwin
color
Williams?
now, please?
That default color it reminds me of a paper bag you see in shopping stores at the supermarket. It's like, oh my god, who the hell thought this was a cool looking hue?
This one falls somewhere between wallet brown and paper bag brown.
Between, Macy's wallet brown or Sears wallet brown. Okay, here we go. But yeah, that's why, again, that's another big issue as to why I'm dumping credits into her bank, because I need to get some outfits going.
And both of those are behind BioWare Excuse Brown.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually tempted to actually go back to my original look my Shadow had before I got the comm gear, because it was a look I loved on her. It's like, oh, this is cool. I actually spent time doing it, putting it together. And at this point, if they hadn't come out with the outfit designer, I'd be like, you know what, I'm going back to that look. All the money I'm wasting right now, I'll make that back again, like 1 or 2 days, easy. For ripping mods out and putting it back in, and then just go from there, saving it to buy the augments and augment kits. So hopefully soon, since it is April, and they said around this time frame. Hello, when is it coming out? Let us know. But
April Fools.
yeah, exactly. Maybe, who knows? And then one other character I need to look at as well is my 155 on Shadowlands. I haven't done much with her at all, since I've always been focusing on my mains on Jedi Covenant, and I just keep forgetting. Not keeping. I just keep neglecting. It's like, wow, I really should just do some stuff on her. Because I did start Forge Alliances. I think I'm at the part where I actually have to go do the first cutscene. Like, I actually have to go meet Shan, and the Colonel.
Yeah, well, if you weren't at that part, you are now, because remember, they reset it.
Yeah. So looking forward to, singing the praises of the almighty, Jesus bot to get me through Forge
appropriate.
Alliances.
Right after Easter, you're going to hang out with the Jesus bot.
That's right. How appropriate.
He has risen.
So looking forward to that, and actually seeing how this is going to play out, because doing Forge Alliances on my power tech, or just going through Forge Alliances and going through the normal storyline Shadow Revan on my power tech. Remember, my power tech is the tank, and wow, just like anything, it just takes forever for things to die as a tank.
Well, hey, you just let me know when, man. I got plenty of Republic DPS over on Shadowlands.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to, because it wasn't painful on my power ticket, but it was just long. It just took a heck of a lot longer, at least perceived by me, because doing Forge Alliances and Shadow Revan solo on all my other characters, especially my DPS characters, my Sentinel, my Marauder, my Gunslinger, my Shadow, I was burning through that content pretty easily. Well, to be fair to that, because by the second and third time you do Shadow Revan, you already know everything is. Everything plays out, so doing multiple characters, it just gets done a lot faster.
I think when we recorded our gameplay video doing the Forged Alliance story, I think we did the whole thing in like 2 hours. When we do it.
Yes, I think we did. Yeah. I was surprised. I was thinking to myself, all right, it's an actual, kind of a sort of a pseudo group. 2 of us and our companions. How bad can this be? Like, oh, okay. Look, we got the almighty bot with us. Cool. Look at that. But I think if we had actually done it with just our companions and not that bot, not have the bot with us, I think it would have taken us a lot longer and been more of a challenge.
I love how every time you would summon your bot, mine would just come out automatically.
It's like, hey, what's up?
We didn't even have the option just to use one of them.
Yeah, it's just, nope, you're both getting one. Okay. Here we go.
I guess if we really wanted to do that, one of us could have zoned in first and summoned theirs, and the other person could have zoned in.
We may have to try that, see if it works.
Just if we want to challenge ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah, see what happens.
Because when there's 2 of those things, just imagine if we got Paige to do it with us and we had 3 of those GSI bots.
I wonder what the system would do then.
The whole game would crash, the server would go down, and the server would rename itself to Harbinger.
Right, or we just got one bot. Like, they thought about that. They thought ahead. Damn it.
Or
they planned
just
ahead.
The freaking Megazord comes out.
Yeah, it's a
One
combination.
giant robot.
Yeah, it's one giant Jesus bot with 5 of them combined as one, like Transformers.
Well, you can't load a model for that, so it brings out a giant HK.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, it would.
With the same voice actor going, hey, what's up? And squashing people for you.
The Maker Mark. Nothing personal.
I think I would see that happen. BioWare, make it so. But, man, that was my week. To wrap up. What have you been doing, Fred?
Well, first let's start with the Easter holiday. Now, let me tell you about the cruel and unusual punishment I had to go through with these people that call themselves my family. They decided to cook, Lou. And it was worse than anything Trick drops on the ship.
Wow.
It smelled horrible, it tasted horrible, it had soggy textures in places that they shouldn't be.
But by gosh, you ate it all, didn't you?
Hell no, I didn't eat it.
The guy that eats Twizzlers out of his armpit didn't want any of that stuff.
I'll eat anything that secretes out of my own body before I eat that swill.
Wow.
Anyway, but what I did in the game.
I worked on my new Vanguard with Paige, and she kind of went through most of the details about it. But we finally cleared out Ord Mantell, and it was the longest trip we've ever had to Ord Mantell, possibly because of the glitches and stuff we were having. I did equip the new subscriber reward crystal on him as soon as I got to level 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in that starting gun that they get, because I kind of like the design of that one. I'll probably hold on to it for a while. I'm a little bit confused why, when you're a Vanguard tank, which is a ranged tank, why your first ability literally has you run up to something and punch it in the face, because nothing else really requires you to be that close to your target except to hit him in the face with the stock of your gun. And I find myself, now that I know that the outfit designer is coming, I am hoarding every single piece of green and gray gear that looks remotely interesting. I'm not selling anything now. And I'm finding that I'm getting a lot less basic comms now because I'm always taking the gear rewards. What'd you think? Were you noticing that as well?
No. Can't say that I have.
I don't have a problem, you do.
Well, alright, you said it, not me. It's just you, man. Just you.
That does it. We're going into the discussion topic.
PvE versus PvP. BioWare, once again, demonstrating double standards. BioWare recently made a change to hurt the PvP community, but still allows the same type of exploit to happen for PvE players. And Lou, would you please read this post by Eric Musco?
Right, and this is coming from Eric from the forums. Quote, "Hey PvPers, heads up on a change that some of you spotted as being Game Update 3.2 on PTS. It is actually a part of 3.1.2, which is coming tomorrow. The change is around 3 Stronghold titles, which some players are using to move around Warzone commendations in a way we did not intend. Here are the changes. The following Stronghold titles are now bound on pickup. Stronghold label: Imperial Sanctuary. Stronghold label: Republic Sanctuary. Stronghold label: Starfighter's Lounge. If you have any of these titles unbound, they will bind to you as of tomorrow. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, so real quick, for context purposes, this exact same thing can be done with different items, which I will not say what, because if BioWare wants to find that out, they need to do their homework. I'm not going to snitch. But you can do the same thing with different items to move around basic comms. And they didn't change that, but they changed the way that PvP comms can be moved around. So, what are our thoughts? Let's start with you, Paige.
Well, this is, I don't want to say that this is a classic PvP gets, a slap while PvE doesn't, because it's not really classic, because the exact same thing can be done with a different type of currency. And that to me says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I noticed something doesn't seem quite right. Ta-da!
I think you're right. I think BioWare just doesn't know how to do the PvE version of this, and they're not doing any research to find out, or else they would have fixed it at the same time. What do you think, Lou?
Well, I after I read this, when it first came out, and looking at some of the responses from some of the players who replied to it, I don't understand what the big deal is, because as you mentioned before, we can do it already on the PvE side with our characters, as it stands now.
Oh, and for context, I should also mention, this has been this way since before 3.0 hit. So it's been like 6 months now that they've been allowing this to happen, and they're just now fixing it.
Right. And it said, we're able to do it now on other things. But at least for PvE content, we're able to do that. Okay? Exploit or not, if we get hate mail from BioWare for this, if, for example, basic comms. If you're on, like I have all my level 60s at the moment, okay, who have all their basic comm gear, all right, and most of them except my Shadow, okay, and my poor Vanguard on Shadowlands, all right, they really have no need for basic comms anymore, because they have the basic comm gear from Yavin 4. Okay, 90% of my companions on all my characters, again except my Shadow, have the 192 companion gear you can get from doing the weeklies on Yavin 4. So there's no need for them, or there's no need for me to actually start, getting or using the basic comms to get the mods or augments or enhancements, because the companion gear is good as it is. I mean, my God, it's sometimes a hell lot better than player gear that we can get. All right, so there's no need for those characters that I have to accrue commendations. But obviously, when you play the game, you're doing the quests and such, yeah, you are going to get basic comms, and you're going to get the little message, hey, you're approaching the 1,000 commendation mark limit. What are you going to do? And, one of the tricks is, you go to the fleet, you go to the comm vendor, you buy that schematic that costs 600 comms, okay, put it in legacy storage, and now you have one of your low-level alts pick it up, and they sell it back, to that vendor on the fleet. And boom, now that low-level alt has 600 comms. And for me, that's a great way to not go through the pain of not, having the right kind of gear when you're questing. Okay, especially if you're not, certainly not talking WC weekend or 12 times XP. If you're just doing the normal, normal questing leveling process in the game, that is a great way for you to have your high, your max level characters help out your low level alts by giving them access to, hey, you know what? The first time around, your first two characters, the first couple characters in the game ever. Okay, going through the process, go through Alderaan, wherever, and saying, oh, I can't get that gear. I don't have the comms. Like, now I can. Now my alts can. Because I have this method of helping gear up my alts faster so that they perform better. Okay, so you can do better in whatever, whether it's group content, whether you're soloing, helping your group do flashpoints or doing, low to mid-level operations.
So, from what you're saying, basically, it seems like it's more impactful to be able to move the basic comms around than it is to be able to move Warzone comms around.
Exactly. I mean, if if this is the same, if they want to apply that same type of logic, I think that they're shooting for, and it's my opinion, that the kind of logic they're using to slam the PvP crowd with, then by the same token, we should not be allowed to do that on the PvE side. Because, it's something that they didn't intend.
Well, I don't think that they know that it can be done on the PvE side.
Well, then in which case, I'll probably get a lot of hate mail from those who are doing it right now.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not like they're going to listen to our show. They don't listen to any podcast out there.
Well, what bugs me is, like, they're so inconsistent about this stuff. If you find out something like that's happening, it just seems logical in my mind, and maybe I'm smarter than everyone else. I'm thinking that that's probably the case. I would go, where else is this happening? What else can I do? If it's really that big of a problem that they needed to put resources into making those bind on pickup, then I don't know why it didn't occur to them that could happen with other currency.
Well, I don't know why it seems like they're targeting the PvP crowd lately, because last time we were talking about the ranked queue and how they were separating the rewards so that solo queued people don't get anything if they don't rank high enough.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're changing it so, okay, you can't move Warzone comms around anymore, so that means if you're maxed out on your PvP gear, you have no reason to do Warzones anymore because you're not getting any rewards from it.
Right.
Whereas before, you could keep doing Warzones on a character you were fully decked out on because you could send those Warzone comms to an alt and gear them up too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just like PvE side, it makes the PvP process that much easier. You can perform better, do better on the leaderboard and help your team survive and actually win.
And
I
it's
don't get
incentive
it.
to keep playing. It's like they don't want anybody queuing up for PvP, and they don't realize that they're destroying the queues by taking away the incentives. First, they attacked the ranked PvP queues by taking away the rewards for not winning. Just participation rewards are gone. So people like me, I'm not even queuing up now because it's not worth my time. Because if I do 10 matches and lose, I get nothing, and then I just wasted my time. And now, with the actual war zones where people are PvPing every day, I guarantee you the PvPers have been using those extra comms to gear up ults so that they can PvP on more characters. And now they're just not going to PvP at all on the characters that have no PvP gear. So you take them out of the queues entirely. Now people got to wait longer for Warzone queues. I wouldn't be surprised if this change here actually cost them subscribers.
Don't make my queues any longer, BioWare. Turds.
Well, I think the last couple changes are going to do exactly that.
No.
Yeah,
But-
and again, that I mean, they say here it's in a way they didn't intend, and it has been going on for quite a while. All right, now I'm trying to see both sides of the argument here, to where they say, all right, it is something they didn't intend, and it did take them so long to catch it. So just to play devil's advocate, okay, maybe it was to them at least a bug, and yes, it did take them this long to finally catch on to it and do something about it, but. Then again, I'd like to see the reason. What was the harm? Like, what is the harm in it? Again, we just discussed and outlined an example that's in the game now for the PvE side.
The only harm that I could see that they would actually cite for doing this is probably people were PvPing on multiple characters to funnel all those Warzone comms to one character to really gear them up for ranked. But even if that is the case, what's the harm in that? The person actually has to work to earn those Warzone comms in the first place.
Right. If anything, all it is just giving them at least better equipment that everyone has access to anyway. All right. There's no secret vendor or no other devious means to get the gear. It's like, no, it's actually gear that anyone can get anyway, regardless.
I just hate this attitude that they take where they're like playing Big Brother, like they're monitoring PvP real close to keep it fair and make sure that it's this valid form of legitimate gameplay, but they won't invest any development resources in giving these people any new content. They just want to keep policing them, because if you get a full set of PvP gear,
it's not like that helps you out in the other 90% of the game that is PvE content. Like, leave these people alone. Let them have some fun without taking away every source of fun that they have.
Right.
Because if you're a PvPer now and you only play one main character and you're fully decked out, you have no reason to PvP anymore if you're motivated by the carrot on the stick. Because you can't spend those comms for anything else on your main. Oh, but wait, you could go back to weapon dancing, something else that they don't intend. Use your comms and just keep reselling them and buying them back. They'll let that stay in the game, but God forbid you're able to move your comms over to another character.
Right, which again, I just don't get. It just doesn't make sense to me as to why they would enact this within the game. Okay, for those who are avid PvPers, as Paige just mentioned, the queues get long. Of course, that can be countered with, well, that's just your perception. What you're always going to hear, well, what time do you play? What server are you on? What kind of server? What time zone are you in? Like, you know what?
Shut up.
Whatever. If you don't notice it, whatever. Okay, you know what? Lucky you then. If you're on a server that has a healthy and kicking PvP population, where the queues are less than a minute long, that's great. Okay, good for you, and I'm glad. But there are other servers, there are other issues across the board that have to be addressed. One server saying we have no issues, you're always going to have another server that says, yeah, we have issues. There's always going to be the other side of the coin that will have issues that are going to be there, that can't be ignored.
Oh.
You can't just hide.
And different factors come into play, like what time of the day you're playing. If you're playing during prime time, queues are going to be a lot faster than if you play at the middle of the night.
Right. And also, too, again, if you're East Coast server, West Coast server, okay, what have you, of course that's going to impact the crowd as well. Not just in Tor, but for any MMO that has multiple servers, whether it's, they have East Coast, West Coast servers in the United States, European servers, or Oceanic servers for the Asian community over there. That all makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And again, what was the harm? You're allowing yourself to not only, find a use for those comms if you don't need them anymore, to help out your other characters. So that their ride isn't as painful as the first one.
Well, I do want to point out two things real quick. First is Play's point that he mentioned here in the chat room, where he said if they wanted to stop this exploit, they should have just made the turn encounter run in real time, not in character played time. But, Play, that wouldn't have resolved this particular problem, because even if the timer expired, that wouldn't matter, because people were buying these stronghold labels and then putting them in their legacy storage, then taking them out on another character and immediately reselling them to get the Warzone comms on that character. It wasn't about hoarding it like the weapon dance system. They were selling them as soon as they sent them over. So that still would have been a problem. And the second thing I wanted to point out is, like, Lou, how you keep reiterating that you want to know what their thinking is behind this stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, if BioWare was half as transparent as they like to claim that they are, we would know their thinking behind it. But all we get is this little post. Oh, hey, just letting you guys know we're changing this crap as of tomorrow, so too bad. And, a little bit of notice would be nice, because what if you're out of town for a week and they post this, and then you come back and you got all these bound on your character?
Right. What do you do then? You can't do anything because you're stuck now.
Yeah, and it's not fair at all. But just another blow that they're dealing to the PvP crowd, and we'll see if they ever figure out how the PvE one works. All right. So then, Paige, what's our Star Wars recommendation of the week?
You guys are going to like this one. For those interested in actually getting a look at the recommendation of the week, I will be posting a link with the photo on the Facebook wall when the show posts to iTunes. This week we have something that comes from jumpinjammers.com. I feel like I should say that in a southern accent. Jumpinjammers.com. What we have here are Star Wars Dark Side footed pajamas. Or pajamas, depending on how you say it. With these one-piece hooded.
Oh my
it's footed,
gosh,
hooded.
It has a hood.
Yeah, PJs. You will be ready to fight anyone that comes your way. I don't know who fights in their PJs, but moving on.
I'll be ready to go to work.
They feature a hoodie, thumb holes, logo zipper pull, and front pockets. And even bad guys will feel warm in these polar fleece adult footy PJs. Get yours today. Isn't that awesome? Did you guys look at the picture?
Oh, yeah.
I should point out that they have them for men and women.
I need to Photoshop one of these with Palpatine in that.
Oh my god, please do it.
You can see it, can't you, Lou? And this is Jumpin' Jammers with a Z at the end.
Yes. Jumpin' Jammers.
Hopefully Paige will get on there and post the Star Wars recommendation after the show goes live so people can see this one.
Jump in, not jumping. Jump in. JumpInJammers.com.
Jump in Jammers.
But only one Z.
JumpInJammers.com.
But I just love it's like you'll be ready to fight anyone that comes your way. I mean, I'm always ready for a fight, but I have to admit, when I'm in my PJs, I'm not really looking for a fight.
It would be epic to see somebody get their ass kicked by somebody in Star Wars pajamas with a hood.
They're like, you know what? And then they just put their hood down. They're like, I'm gonna take you out.
Totally photoshopping Palpatine's face on it.
You know what? They're footed too. Just keep that in mind. So when you're kicking someone in the face, they're getting kicked in the face with a footy pajama.
Paulie just said, now watch these appear on the cartel market.
Oh my god!
Ah.
To me, it really looks like a one-piece hoodie. Like it's a hoodie that just envelops your entire body. Because it's got the thumb holes, the pockets, the hood. It feels like a hoodie to me.
All right, very good. Very, very good. All right, Lou, so on to the intelligence report where we continue force power.
That's right. That's right, part 7. And we still have more to come, folks, because this is a huge topic. Because after all, what is one of the essential themes of Star Wars? The Force. And everything associated with it. So, last week I said we'd pick it up with Force Defend, and here we are with Force Defend. Or otherwise known as Tutaminis, was an umbrella title used by the Jedi Order to classify Force abilities related to energy absorption. Designated as one of the family of control abilities, Tutaminis techniques were taught to Jedi initiates within the Jedi Academy throughout the history of the Order. And remember, folks, some of these are going to sound familiar because a lot of these Force powers do have similar traits, so bear that in mind. While taught to all the Jedi during the days of the Galactic Republic, it was a rare feat to be capable of dissipating concentrated energy, such as what makes up a blaster bolt or a lightsaber blade. While it was named and practiced by the Jedi Order, Tutaminis was not restricted to use by Jedi. In fact, most Force-based groups and Force users in general learn to use or at least control some of the abilities taught at the Temple. The skills associated with Tutaminis are related to the idea that through the Force, a Jedi could draw potentially harmful heat or electrical energy into their bodies and diffuse it or channel it away completely. Viewed as a starting point for further study in the Force, the Council of First Knowledge designated the study of Tutaminis to be taught during their very first classes at Jedi Academies. While the basics were expected to be mastered upon graduation from the Academy, development of these skills would come over an entire lifetime. For a Jedi was never done learning. Tell that to the Jedi of. Never mind. In addition to deflecting energy weapons, this ability could eliminate the harmful effects of other energy-based Force powers, such as Force Lightning. With additional effort, after absorbing a blaster bolt or Force power, the user could utilize the absorbed energy to heal his or her wounds or manifest other Force powers. Tutaminis was also described as a non-harmful Force drain. As the basis of many abilities, Tutaminis included many skills that were given proper or common names within the Jedi Order. Other abilities stem from this skill but were more personalized and not taught throughout the entire Academy, if at all. Many skills, such as a simple body shielding or as advanced as catching and or dispelling a lightsaber blade with one's bare hand, were all considered applications of Tutaminis. Mastery and self-protection would include the capabilities to encase oneself in an energy field that could drain heat and electrical energy from incoming attacks. This ability, would make the bearer invulnerable to a wide range of energy-based attacks until the user discontinued its use, or it wore off when the user became fatigued. With this skill, it was possible to deflect blaster bolts with one's bare hands, though mastery of the skill was very difficult. Force Deflection. Quite simply, Force Deflection was a force power used by Jedi and Sith who were without a lightsaber, or chose not to carry one. It took much skill in the Force to use this, however, and most Jedi used their lightsabers instead to deflect incoming attacks. Alright, a good example of that is if you've seen Empire Strikes Back. Alright, when Lando opens the door to the dining room, and who do they see? Yeah, Darth Vader. Okay, and what's he do with a hand? When he pulls out his blaster, he deflects all those bolts away. So that's a pretty good example of Force Deflection right there. On to Force Destruction. Force Destruction was a dark side force power used by Sith and Dark Jedi, allowing them to create a massive energy field and throw it in any direction. When used, a massive amount of energy was stored up within the user, drawn from the dark side of the Force, and with incredible concentration, the energy could be discharged using the user's own body as a conduit. Usually fired through the arm or hand, it could blast a large radius, vaporizing anyone who got too close to it. Even those who escaped direct contact with the blast would be pushed asunder by the power's backlash. Using Force Destruction was a very exhausting power requiring a great deal of focus and concentration, and could only be used a few times without requiring the user to rest. Jarek was the most famous person to have used this ability, applying it against Kyle Katarn in the Valley of the Jedi. Baka Seika was also known to have used this force power, and if you've ever played the Dark Forces series of games, then this is where one of the final fights is just when your character, Kyle Katarn, takes on Jarek, and that is an annoying power to see in the game. Let's put it that way. You gotta run away from it, or run out of it. On to the next power, Force Drain, or in the words of Kriya in KOTOR 2, it is a technique that is almost as old as the Sith themselves. It is a means of severing connections between life, the Force, and feeding upon the death it causes. It cannot be taught. It can only be gained through instinct, through experiencing its effects firsthand. Force Drain refers to a spectrum of offensive and defensive force powers, tied to the same concept, which use the dark side of the Force to tap into the strengths of an organic target. Mastery of each technique could scale the area of effect, sometimes dramatically, or exhaust the victims almost instantaneously. Force abilities such as Drain Life and Dark Healing siphon vitality to sometimes offer an equivalent effect of Force Healing, the difference being that the regenerative processes in the user was fuel draining the targets. Other techniques like Drain Force rekindle Force energy in the user, offensively draining the Force energy from those whom the power was turned upon. Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Bane, was able to create a spherical deadly field of pure dark side energy around himself that instantly withered away anyone unlucky enough to be caught within its radius. However, this ability was extremely exhausting, to the point where it was highly impractical for Bane to use it unaided. Another application was Force Diminish, which is a force power that enabled the user to cause damage to an opponent's health and vitality with enough concentration. The user was able to weaken an opponent's body and mind to the point of death. Some wielders of the Force were known to be able to drain life energy and Force energy simultaneously, like the Dark Lord Darth Malak did in the last battle of the Jedi Civil War, as he dueled his former Sith Master Revan. He used Force Drain to draw upon the power of Captive Jedi who had fallen in the attack on Dantooine. And just an aside, if you've played KOTOR 1, then you know exactly what that entails. Okay, you have to make sure that Malak doesn't tap into those Captive Jedi, otherwise he heals himself and the fight just goes on that much longer. Next power we go to is called Force Sphere. And Force Sphere was a dark side power, and possibly a dark side variant on the Jedi Mind Trick. Used around 4,000 years before the Battle of Yavin by Sith and Jedi with dark side tendencies. The wielder will strike directly at the deepest parts of the target's mind, causing an uncontrollable shaking fear that will wreak havoc with the target's capabilities. Through pure force of will alone, a user could cause them to lose their courage completely, and if left undefended, the effects could be severe, rapidly demoralizing the enemy with a feeling of hopelessness and regret. Depending on the victim, it caused them to either cower defenselessly or flee from their opponent outright. Force Sphere had two advanced variants, Force Horror and Force Insanity. Force Horror enabled the Force users to cause multiple enemies to enter into a catatonic state of panic that was more severe and more difficult to defend than the basic Force Sphere. In similarity, Force Insanity also enabled the Force user to affect multiple enemies at once, although to an even greater range than its predecessor. As the most advanced form of Force Sphere, its effect was much more devastating, with the victims possibly descending into an utter state of frenzied madness and deranged mania as their situation seemed to suddenly become hopeless. And a perfect example of this is, obviously, if you've played, again, KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2 games, this is one of the powers you can have access to within the game. And for sheer value, if you're a dark side player, those are some fun powers to have because it will allow you to control multiple targets. The next power we go to is called Force Flash. The Force Flash was a force power employed when the person using it did not want to be seen. It's related to Droid Disable. The user could temporarily disable a security holocam, causing a brief period of static, allowing the user to pass while only alerting security to a minor holocam malfunction. Another usage of the Force under the same name allowed the Force user to produce an unnatural flash of bright light, temporarily blinding his opponents. So think of it as how the smuggler and the agent, get the flash bomb. Okay, same thing. That's the same exact effect it's supposed to have. Force Flight. Okay, this was a force power that enabled the user to telekinetically move themselves toward a specific destination, taking levitation to an extreme degree. To use this power took a great deal of concentration. It is possible that Force Flight had some relation to floating meditation, a meditation technique where the user floated several inches off the ground during meditation. Right, and as an example of this, they do have some examples on the Wikipedia and other Star Wars sites where you see Jedi or Dark Jedi or Sith actually, they're not employing a force jump. You're actually seeing them move themselves as single unit, calmly and serenely to a different part of the area. Okay, so that's going to be a limited sense of flight. Okay, but that leads us into Force Jump, also known as Force Leap. Use the Force to augment the user's natural leaping ability. Force users adept in this technique can perform awe-inspiring vertical and horizontal leaps with impunity. Using the Force to enhance one's jumping ability was one of the most commonly used Force powers by Force users throughout history. The height to which a user could jump varied depending on skill level and physique. However, most Jedi Masters could easily jump several times their own height. In combat, a well-timed Force jump enabled a user to quickly cross the distance to engage an enemy. This was most widely employed during lightsaber battles. It was also common for Jedi to use this technique to evade attacks in lightsaber combat. Many would use and practice psi acrobatics, which relied on the Force for the jump's power, height, and speed. This ability was essential for practitioners of the acrobatic fourth form of lightsaber combat, like we see in Yoda. And this brings us to Force Light. And Force Light was a light side force power used by the Jedi, obviously. When used against a Darksider, Force Light would weaken the Darksider's connection to the Force. With the light of the Force, a Jedi could either purge or contain Darkside manifestations or nexus points, whether in places, spirits, or even living persons, though sometimes to a detrimental effect. By channeling the Force into withering blasts of light-sided energy, the darkness can then be diminished or destroyed permanently. Force Light could also be used to sever the bond between the Sith Battle Lord and his or her followers. And on to Force Lightning. Force Lightning was a purely offensive, energy-based attack that channeled Force energy down the user's limbs, hurling arcing bolts of electricity from the wielder's fingertips or palms. Force Lightning could be executed with either one or two hands. Powerful discharges would branch out into dozens of smaller forks, thus skilled practitioners could target several foes at once. The intensity varied based on a number of factors. A skilled user could render a target unconscious with only a short burst. A single powerful blast was sufficient to kill a person instantly. The fact that it caused not only severe physical damage but also unbearable agony to the victim led it to being widely used as a form of torture. Due to the fact that Force Lightning was, at its core, simple electricity generated by the dark side, it could be grounded with any material that was resistant to electrical currents. Depending on the level of intensity, Force Lightning could ground itself on an ignited lightsaber with no apparent ill effect on the lightsaber's operation. However, some of the technique's most exceptionally powerful practitioners were capable of producing blasts that contained enough kinetic energy to tear an ignited lightsaber from their opponent's grasp. Force Lightning could also be absorbed and redirected by a Jedi of sufficient skill. The Force could also be used to simply deflect Force Lightning without absorbing it, as demonstrated by Dooku during his initial engagement with Yoda. Though the short-term effects of Force Lightning are obvious, The sheer power invoked by its use could have insidious long-term effects, both on those subject to its power and those who would wield it. It could deform the person being shocked, and it could also lead to them being crippled for the rest of their life. It was also known to cause brain damage and blindness. Prolonged exposure to intense electric fields, such as a sustained current of force lightning, caused most humanoids to experience sudden and massive calcification of their skeletal system. The abrupt drop in blood minerals provoked muscular microseizures all over the victim's body. Chain lightning was a variation of force lightning, with the difference being that the lightning was able to strike one person and then move to another or several others. As it was more powerful than the standard lightning, it required a greater amount of discipline and concentration to project and sustain the stream of lightning. Force shock was a power that allowed the user to create an energy spark that would track and damage the nearest enemy. The shock could be thrown at an opponent to stun and injure them, or could be set loose to track an opponent until it dissipates. The shock would not last more than 5 seconds or so before disappearing into a tiny burst of heat, but it was a useful technique for Sith apprentices. Now, Force Storm was a Force Lightning variant. The user would raise their palm upward and would create, through the Force, an explosion of electrical energy directed at all foes in the vicinity. It also appeared as a tornado of energy which created a great disturbance in the Force. Jedi could also join together to create a Force Storm, though its use was frowned upon by the more orthodox Jedi. Unlike Force Lightning, Force Storm was not limited to attacking enemies in one direction, as it affected all foes within a certain radius from the user. And this concludes Part 7 of Force Powers. Next week, we're going to pick it up Part 8 and Wall of Light. And as always, I wish to say thank you to the Wikipedia, StarWars.com, theforce.net, and other lore sites out there. Folks, if you enjoyed lore as much as I do, please visit these sites, look up your favorite topics, and enjoy.
As you can see, I was busy with the side project while you were doing the lore segment.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to be our episode art this week.
Yeah. It's fitting and appropriate.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
I
God.
also already shared that with the Facebook group.
You did?
Yeah. So, does somebody want to tell those listening at home what this is?
What do you mean? What the picture is?
Yes.
Okay, well, when Fred said he was going to edit Emperor Palpatine into those jumping jammies, he wasn't kidding.
Paige was in the other room while you're doing the lore segment, and she just started freaking out when it popped into the notes. Because she's on such an old computer, she thought the notes were disappearing, and then that popped up.
Yeah, like, I was sitting here, and I was kind of reading along, and I scrolled down, and all of a sudden, everything went blank, and I was like, oh my god, where'd the notes go? And then, like, 10 seconds later, there's Palpatine, and I'm, like, so glad I was muted, because I was like, ah!
Lou would have gotten angry if he did that noise during the middle of his lore segment. So, that takes us into the Community Hollow feed. And first up is the trivia question of the week. Where each week we're going to post a trivia question into our YouTube video version of the show. Simply go to StarWarsBeyond.com and we'll link you right to the episode. On the episode, there will be a button in the video that you press that takes you right to the trivia question. And then you could shoot us an email to StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com and include your character name, the faction you play on, and the server you play on. And also, of course, include the answer to the trivia question. And if there is more than one correct answer, we'll do a random drawing to win a cartel pack. Everyone that answers correctly will be entered into a drawing for a much larger prize, which we'll draw on the show every few months. You can be entered into the grand prize drawing every time you answer correctly. And Lou, who is your trivia question of the week winner from last week?
And from last week's question, the winner is Chuck from the Harbinger server. Congratulations, and for those who are waiting for the answer to last week's trivia question is Master Luminara Unduli. Okay, if you've watched any of the movies, especially the prequels, alright, and if you've seen the animated shorts, 5-minute animated shorts originally for Clone Wars, and the actual latest set of Clone Wars animations, Okay, you'll see her character there as well with her Padawan Barriss Offee. Okay, and I kind of think that's who they. When you look at Master Luminara's outfit, I think it's like, wow, no wonder the consort looks like this in SWTOR. I am not knocking your skill. I'm like, why do you dress like that? Because she's got the robe and the hat and all. Like, this is exactly what the consort looks like in Tor. I guess someone's making an homage to Master Julia. Like, no, not the outfit. Come on, anything else but her outfit. Okay, and just some background hints there to help you along with the answer. Okay, with the Jedi Order. Okay, the Jedi Order have a standing tradition with Luminara's species. Okay, with the Mirialians. Okay, when the Mirialians send possible apprentices and Padawans, or possible Force sensitives to the Jedi Order to be tested and trained, the Jedi have always given them a Mirialian master to learn under. Okay, because it's part of their heritage, part of their culture for teaching.
I call bull crap on that. I got Master Orgus.
Yeah. Well, as one of your other teachers, but not as your initial master.
No, my initial master was that stupid guy that got beat up by flesh raiders. You're talking about before the story starts.
Yes.
Before you go to Tython.
Yeah, when you go to Tython. This is before, first of all, let's scratch the Tython story aside, because remember, when you go there as a Jedi Knight, you're almost at the testing stage. You're actually, if they would follow the lore that's accepted, you'd be undergoing your trials when you reach that point in Tython, in Tor's story. Okay? You should be undergoing your trials to become a Jedi. What we're talking about here is that the Mirialians, when they send younglings to the Jedi, it's always going to be to a Mirialian master. And their first mentor was always going to be a Mirialian. And if possible, always, the masters they go to will always be Mirialian. It's part of their heritage. It's what they do. If you've noticed your characters, if you have them in Tor, and in the series and the movies, the Mirialians have facial tattoos, or they have tattoos in their bodies. Okay? To them, that's recorded as those signs of achievements. And that's why it's part of the heritage, because they want another Mirialian to recognize the achievements, and they're the ones that actually tattoo you if you make that accomplishment. Okay?
Oh, man. So you don't want to be the guy that ends up joining an order that doesn't have any Mirialians, because then somebody's giving you a tattoo and they really don't know the language that well. So it's like when those people get Chinese tattoos on them and it says, like, spicy fish roll, and they're like, that's your name.
Yes. Like, hey, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's a completely made up word. Did you not know that?
Says you a loser. Well, that too would make for a very interesting lore topic at some point. The Mirialian and their culture.
I've actually thought about it, and I probably will do that. Probably start expanding once I finally finish Force powers.
Around the time that Episode 7 comes out.
Yeah. By the time 7 and 8 come around, at this point,
should be wrapping up Force powers about then, unless Episode 7 adds some new ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just we do know. I mean, Disney did release the dates for 8 and 9 already, so we know when those coming out.
I have a feeling that 8 is going to end up being the best one out of the series, since J.J. Abrams isn't doing that one.
Or you're going to follow, everyone knows, episodes 4, 5, and 6, and everyone's immediate favorite is always going to be Empire Strikes Back, which is the middle one of the three.
The one that they said Lucas had very little creative input on. All right, well, we got 2 emails this week. And Paige, you get the first one.
Okie dokie.
Since he's in our chat room.
Well, hi. Pele writes, greetings all. I would like to see BioWare take 2 fan-requested PvP features and combine them into one marquee item, a ranked 8-man Huttball League. Because Huttball is closer to what a non-gamer sees as a sport, taking possession of a ball, running the ball, passing the ball, scoring at an end zone, bounce, go wow wow, etc. I think a ranked Huttball League would make an excellent esport to promote the game. With the new appearance designer, you could even have the players dressed as rotworms or frog dogs. If BioWare added 3 more Huttball maps, they could start running tournaments where the best 3 out of 5 matches won. Each server could have a ladder to win the PvP rewards BioWare already creates for ranked PvP play. Instead of a rating, teams could win based on their winning ratio. Add in a tournament server, and you are ready for something worth promoting on a large scale, prize and publicity wise. Let teams register for the tournament, have a season of play to set a ranking, seeding the chart, and then let the best 8 of 16 of 32, etc. teams duke it out for the top prizes. If they set the prize rewards to something equivalent to what you could get at a major esport tournament, I can guarantee they will get plenty of teams. The reason I suggest a tournament server is that would fix the issue of cross-server queues and the least amount of effort from BioWare. It would also give them complete control over what the players had access to before and during the matches. A side benefit of 3 more Hutball maps would be that for unranked games, BioWare could have the option to queue for A, any PvP map, B, any Hutball map, and C, any non-Hutball map. This would handle the issue of people preferring one type of game map over another. It would also allow informal player-run Hutball or Warzone tournaments. A possible downside could be longer queues, but if BioWare made the PvP daily and weekly quests be only doable with the any PvP map option, it should mitigate most any possible queue time issues. I'd suggest leave the normal participation-based Warzone commendation rewards alone. That way, folks could still get the comms their preferred way once their daily and or weekly quest was finished. Well, these are some of the thoughts I've had about making PvP something that helps promote the game to a wider audience for BioWare. I don't think either an 8-man ranked or a Hutball League by itself is going to happen, but if we combined them and showed BioWare how that can make the game appealing to people not currently playing, we have a chance at seeing something new and cool. Heck, if ranked 8-man Hutball were to be a good publicity boost for BioWare to the larger gamer community, they might even consider bringing back the old 8-man ranked. Thank you for taking the time to read my wall o text. Smiley face!
I really appreciate that we got a reply on Twitter a few moments ago from Snave saying if we're having any issues with Hitbox, let him know and he'll help us. So I may have to hit him up and figure out how to set our game this WoTour.
Yeah, that would be helpful. That'd be great of him if he could, if he had time to do it.
But back on topic, thank you, Pele, for your email. You have some really great ideas in here. The only issues that I see is I don't see BioWare being motivated enough to put that much work into it.
I'm not motivated enough for anything.
And that would be a real shame, because
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it is a great idea, and as we've been discussing as side topics the past few episodes, it's not like, at least, okay, I'll caveat this, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing, they don't have to do a whole lot of creating. They have the resources. Okay, they have the maps. All they need to do is just refine them and tweak them for a PvP competitive environment. Okay, I mean, we have how many planets where literally the Empire and the Republic, story-wise, are at odds anyway. Like, you're always going to run into opposite faction characters. Okay, again, prime example is Balmorra. You're openly fighting with each other there for control of Balmorra. All right, same thing with Alderaan. Hey, you got great scenery, great terrain. Again, in Corellia, urban environment. You got a complete urban map for those who want that type of environment to fight in. And these are some great suggestions. Multiple options. Hey, I don't care what PvP map I get sent to. Warzone, Hutball, whatever. Just send me somewhere. It's like a smash face. Or you know what? I don't want to play Hutball. I played 16 matches yesterday, and no. I'm sick of it. Obviously, as we said before, more options in this game only does the game better. It doesn't hurt anyone in any way to give the players more options to participate in PvP. Okay, we have a ton of them running in PvE. All right, between operations, flashpoints, group content, what have you. Again, it's the PvP side of the house that gets pretty much nothing. All right, and that's something I don't understand. I mean, it's the other half of the community. All right, and they're not getting their fair share of something that could be, to me, it could be completely grand. because it's iconic for Star Wars universe for fighting to happen between the two factions. And I understand why they just won't, take some time and resources to devote to bringing back these type of this type of thing. I mean, yeah, I know we were all there when 8-Man was first around, but then I never participated in PvP anyway when the game first came out. So why they took 8-Man and ranked away? Like maybe technical issues. Okay, should have fixed that because 8-person teams are great.
Their reason for taking away the 8v8 was because there weren't enough teams in the queue, so they thought that if they got rid of 8s, then people would queue as 4-man teams, and then I put more teams in the queue, and all it ended up doing was getting a bunch of the 8-man teams to quit the game.
And I'm sorry, but there are other games out there that not only do 8, they do 16 as a standard. Okay, when you go to the other esports games that are out there, okay, let's use World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, okay, War Thunder. What do they have there? They have 16-person teams, 16 versus 16. All right, so if you're in World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, 16 tanks, 16 planes against the opposing team. Same thing in War Thunder. If you want to build that kind of competition, you've got to build for it. There is a market for it there. Those games are popular for a reason.
Yeah, they had a huge PvP community when the game first launched, because this game was getting praised for being some of the most balanced PvP in the MMO space. But they neglected their PvP audience for so long that most of them left.
Right, and they moved on to I wouldn't say greener, but to other pastures, or to other games that are giving them their PvP fix. Whether it's a first-person type arena, a MOBA, okay, or another type of esport like I just mentioned, World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, that type of player versus player environment. Okay, because they're not getting it here, and I think it's something that they need to address sooner rather than later, because as time goes on, the perception is going to be that yes, PvP exists in the game, but it's not worth trying out because no one ever does it. Okay, and to me, that's just going to make them a deeper hole for them to dig themselves out of. Because we do have some great classes in this game, that look great and play great. Balance issues notwithstanding. But we all know we all have our favorite classes or our preferred classes to play when we PvP. Just like we do in PvE. We have classes that we prefer to use in PvE. So, I'm going to assume it's the same in PvP. You're going to have people who prefer, hey, you know what, I only like PvP on my gunslinger, my
operative.
assassin. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you're describing right there is the kind of person that just got slapped in the face by that comm switching nerf.
Yes. Shaduki.
Right, and Play brings up a good point. They don't seem, I'll quote him, they don't seem to understand that catering to a small group can be important when that small group are key influencers. All right, for example, it's no secret that a lot of MMOs will always take the feedback of the top end progression / hardcore rating guilds in their game. They do. All right, to have them say they don't, to me, it's a bunch of crap.
And I kind of wonder how many of those SWTORs left.
Okay, and so there are still in this game, hardcore PvP guilds, players, that I think that they are more than willing and will be happy to step up and say, if you need representatives in the community, and I think at some point, Bioware did say, hey, we want to hear your feedback, and I for one do not doubt that they did send their suggestions in, whether it's email, forum posts, what have you. But where has it gone? You have a community that's just waiting, that wants to stay, they want to play the game, and they want to play this particular portion of it because that's what they love. And I'm sorry, I'm getting sick and tired of the excuses that we can't do it. We won't. No, now it's that you won't do it. Okay, and it's something that they need to work on, because it's great that we're getting more content PvE side, so it's always welcome. But the other part of the game you promote through your various social media and on your main website is, there is a PvE component that we like players to enjoy. Okay, well then, gosh, put some dishes on the table then. so that crowd can eat too.
That is the best analogy I've heard since ever. Put some more dishes
like
on the
the
table.
It's like all the players who are have PVE on their placards at the table. They're all getting fed. What are the PvP players getting? They're getting, they're getting the basket of bread with the crackers and the butter.
I don't even think they're getting that anymore. Like the crackers and the stale bread ran out months ago. Now they don't get fed at all. They get nothing. In fact, every once in a while, BioWare comes around and snatches the few crumbs off the tablecloth. Those people, if you look at anything that's happened to PvP lately, it's just nerfs. They don't get anything. Ranked PvP gets something for that select few people that actually want to participate in that.
Right, and as Play just pointed out again in the chat, and GSF folks, the GSF players, what are they getting? They're actually, they can't even get in the restaurant.
Oh, that's another topic for another show.
They're still waiting in the lobby. They're like, can we get a table?
Yeah.
Can we get a table, please?
We did make reservations. I swear we called.
Yeah.
We did make reservations.
It's under GSF.
We're going to hit GSF hard one of these episodes because I have a lot of thoughts on that, and that's going to make me angry. So before we start talking about GSF, Lou, we got one more email here.
Okay, and our second email comes from Ryan, a.k.a. Nameless Noob. Ryan writes, so this past weekend, Mara and I decided to get back into SWTOR and start a new character on her friend's server. So if we get maxed, we can raid and have fun with them. Anyway, after getting back in, we both, since the last time had played, had different phones. So we had to go through the pain of disabling security keys and realized that you need to sub to get the mobile security key back on your account. So this brought me back to realizing how stupid the model is. Like, you can't send credits and more than one item in the mail. He's talking about free-to-play status. So I immediately subbed up because I couldn't stand that. Lastly, our characters. I decided to do an assassin tank, and so far it's pretty fun. And Mara made a bounty hunter, so loving the game. Can't wait to finally hit max level and get into Revan. Smiley face.
Oh, and I'm curious if Mara's playing a mercenary so she can heal him. Not enough details.
I wonder.
Yeah, we need a follow-up here, Nameless. You got to let us know which role Mara's playing.
Unless she's doing a DPS power attack.
And, I don't know why you would have to be subbed up to add a mobile security key to your account. That doesn't make any sense.
What I was going to say, though, is even, I don't know about the security key sub issue thing, but the whole not being able to send credits and do more or mail more than one item. He said that made him so annoyed he immediately subbed up because he couldn't stand it. BioWare just won. You gave them exactly what they wanted. They annoyed you just so you would pay. You've been bamboozled, my friend.
You've been BioWared.
Oh, don't say that to people. Welcome back is what we mean to say.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you're here. I'm part of the community.
Yeah,
what server are you on?
We're already bleeding PvPers. Don't chase more people away.
What room are you staying in?
What's going on in our SWTOR community page?
Check out our fellow SWTOR podcasts. Most of them are available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at SWTORnetwork.com. We have ToroCast at ToroCast.com, Corellian Run Radio at CorellianRun.com, UntiniCast at UntiniCast.com, SWTOR Escape Podcast at NewOverlords.com. The Usual Podcast is at TheUsualPodcast.com. Old Republic Radio is on iTunes, Healing SWTOR is on iTunes, Enmity Podcast is on iTunes, and the Bad Feeling Podcast is at badfeelingpodcast.com. Be warned, that's an explicit podcast. Also follow Madmar at SWTOR Family for the latest happenings in the SWTOR community. And if you'd like to have your podcasts listed on this segment, send us an email at starwarsbeyond@gmail.com.
That's right, and now I'll tell you how you can get a hold of us one last time. You can find out more about our show at StarWarsBeyond.com. You can like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/StarWarsBeyondPodcast. And that's the place to follow us if you want to see these actual Star Wars recommendations. Now, this week, you're actually going to get to see this image as our show art, so never fear. You can check that out at StarWarsBeyond.com. You can tweet us, the show. Oh, you got something to say?
Yeah, and it's on Facebook right now.
And you can tweet us at Star Wars Beyond. You can tweet me at Sith Lord Corv, Korv. You can tweet Lou at GamerGuy11B. You can tweet Paige at Asaphiry, Asaphiry. And now it is time for our final thoughts.
My final thought is I really hope the queue times don't get any longer, because sometimes I sit there and I'm like, this is taking too long. I'm signing off.
Yeah, I really hope that in a little while, maybe a week or two, that Bio will reconsider what they're doing with this change for the PvP crowd in terms of the stronghold tiles and such. Because, at least to me, again, there are other means to swap currencies around, the in-game currencies around within the game that have been around for a really long time. And so, again, at least to me, I didn't see anything wrong with this. If the PvP players are doing this, okay. Again, during the show, I outlined one example of what I'm doing with my characters, PvE characters, for comms. So, again, if that makes me an exploiter or what have you, then let me know. Okay, point out the fallacies in the argument. Why is that wrong? Okay, I hope in due time Bio will see that this isn't really an exploit or anything bad. It's
and
just
if it's wrong, I don't want to be right.
I don't ever want to be right. It's just a way for players who have max level characters already to use those comms that they're earning, to help them, to help their low level characters. And I do hope in due time that they will reconsider and change their minds. Because at this point, we don't need to take things away from the PvP crowd. That part of the player base. We need to give them stuff to keep them incentivized to come play the game and stay in the game.
Especially one thing after another.
Exactly.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Futurama reference. And my final thought is that I really hope that Twitch gets their Shiduki together, but we may end up finding a new home here on Hitbox, because Hitbox has done wonderfully throughout this episode. Beyond the Stars is an independently recorded fan podcast made in association with NSG Productions, and now it's time to say goodnight.
Good night, everybody, from the Crimson Seabiscuithawk.
Good night, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. See you all again next time.
Later, fools.
You've served your purpose.
Beyond the Stars trivia question for the week of April 8th, 2015. First clue. I was a symbol of unspeakable destruction, a prototype of future designs yet to be made. Second clue. My predecessor aptly demonstrated the potential firepower I could wield to the rest of the galaxy. Third clue. Built in secrecy, I was not alone in my construction. Elsewhere, a similar platform was taking shape as well as other variants. Fourth clue. My first and only use was to help gather raw materials in order to help construct my defense. Fifth clue. My namesake died on board my predecessor. Who or what am I? And as always, folks, please send your replies to StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com. And in your answer, please include your character name, what faction you're on, and the server you are on, along with your faction. And as always, good luck. Looking forward to seeing all your replies.